Welcome. I'm Sue Landay. I'm from Trainer's Warehouse. This is Show and Share. And today I am with my colleague and friend Matt Ames, who I met through the Greater Boston ATD organization. He was good enough to welcome me and encourage me to join the board. And since then, we've been kind of working together and getting to know each other as professional colleagues here. And um, I had a former guest who was going to talk about his story of resilience, and he bailed out on us. So if you were hoping to see Patrick Nugent today, you are not. Matt Ames is here. He has his own story of resilience and endurance training, and was good enough to agree to join us today. So Matt, thanks for being here. So delighted to have you.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So, yeah, take it away.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. This is the audience participation part. Can I get a thumbs up that you can see goals that last? Excellent. Okay. And I need to be able to see your faces to know how I'm doing. So just moving something here, and we are ready to go. Awesome. Thanks, Sue. Thanks for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. Again, my name is Matt Ames. I am the head of learning and development at Northern Bank in Woburn, Massachusetts. And also, I am the chief endurance officer at Learning Endurance. So today we're going to talk about goals that last, building resilience one layer at a time. But before we talk about my story, I'm really interested in your story. So we're not going to spend a ton of time here right now, but I'd like you to think about one goal that you're carrying into the miles ahead, if you will. So go ahead, think about it, write it down. If you're comfortable sharing it in the chat, you can go ahead and do that. So I will give us about 30 seconds to think about a goal. Again, you can type it in the chat, a sentence, a word. We'll return to that later. That'll be anyone that has kids, a mouse tool we'll use later. Awesome. And I can't see the chat at the moment, but excellent. Okay. Team development, love it. To relocate to a place where I can relax and have flowing water. I like that. My shower is actually being replaced as we speak. Talk about resilience. Okay, let's get into the meat of the session today. Today's leg of the race, I'm going to share briefly some lessons from the road, how running shaped my perspective. We'll go over some tools that I've created based on those lessons. And then I'm going to encourage you to try these tools yourself and possibly with your teams. Okay. Something about running that I have discovered, right? Maybe it has to do with the surplus endorphins or something, but how do you know somebody has run a marathon? Do not worry, they will tell you. Okay. But in saying that, what I do want to share that I've discovered is, runners are not really worried about judging whether you belong. They are such an encouraging group of people. I cannot say enough about community. We are social creatures, and there are so many different communities that have built who we are today. Tennis and running are two of those communities for me. I'm sure you can think of a couple yourself.
And we have one right here.
What's that? Yeah, that's
And we
right.
have a community and encouraging
That's
group right
right.
here. Yeah.
This community right here. That's right. All right. So I want to share a little story with you. So in 2012, I was starting to find myself professionally at work, but I was starting to slip personally. So at the time, you're going to see I
Whoops.
lived in between two pizza shops, which was delicious, but was starting to affect my health. Basically, a number of years of not working out and everything like that contributed to New Year's Eve 2012, when I was in the worst shape of my life. Doing simple things like tying my shoes and going up two flights of stairs was leaving me winded. So something had to change. I decided to take up running, and it started as walk running. It was tripping over my dog, who I discovered couldn't run in a straight line, but that's a different story. But it was messy. When you try something for the first time, it is not always clean and pristine, is it? It was a messy process. And on the other end, I learned something that worked for me And again, what started as a fitness journey really became a place to clear my head, get those endorphins I talked about earlier. And also, I listen to a lot of podcasts, so it's a good place to learn as well. One of the things we find when we learn a new skill and we gain confidence, we're able to push those goals. We're able to push the goalposts further. So I didn't wake up on that picture on the left and say, I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. No, that was not on my horizon. On the horizon was just not being out of breath. So anyway, I was able to run the Boston Marathon 3 times for charity. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not fast. I can just run for a long time in a straight line and raise money for worthy charities. So 2019 was, can I do this? 2020 was the virtual Boston Marathon, which was, does anybody have enough motivation to run 26 miles in their neighborhood? And 2024 was a few years later, can I still do this? And so the point that I want to make here that seems obvious, every runner crosses the same finish line, right? But they cross it differently. At no time was my goal to win the Boston Marathon. If you came to today's session hoping to talk to a marathon winner, I am so sorry. That is next week's session. But again,
Or
why did I
not.
run it? Or not? Or not? Um, for
Learning.
me,
We're
yeah.
learning.
That's right. We're learning. And so when we think about crossing the same finish line differently, sometimes I think of, is that a quarter, right? Is that a year? So every runner crosses the same finish line differently. And then when I think about people and organizations, so do we. We get the same 12 months. We have the same 168 hours in a week, whatever it is, how you measure time. So with that, many of you may have heard of a place called Heartbreak Hill. And Heartbreak Hill is a part in the Boston Marathon. It's 20 miles in. Runners are starting to get fatigued. Doubt starts to really set in. And this is the part where you're really running with your heart at that point, right? So when we run a marathon, we run the first 9 miles with our head. We run the next 9 miles with our legs. And that last is with our heart. Well, the reason Heartbreak Hill is called Heartbreak Hill, two guys, coincidentally, both named John Kelly, were running the Boston Marathon. And when they got to Heartbreak Hill, one John Kelly taps the other John Kelly on the shoulder reassuringly and passes by him. A few miles later, the other guy that got tapped on the shoulder ends up passing the other one and wins the thing. So this is a metaphor for how do we continue to stay motivated late in the race when conditions aren't ideal and when we are just wondering, do we have enough? So some of the tools that I'm going to share with you in a couple moments here are really equipped to keep you going. So here we go. Okay. The first thing that I want to bring up in marathon training, my older brother actually was my first marathon coach, if you will, and shared some knowledge with me. He's like, Matt, when you run a marathon, and again, his goals are usually around time. So the first time I ran it, I did have a time goal. He said you have ABC goals, right? And I didn't invent ABC goals, right? Like there are plenty of people out there that have written something like this. But the way I think about it is, again, what's the best that I can hope for? The stars align, conditions are perfect. What's the best I can hope for? B, we're all going to have some challenges. I woke up with a stomach ache, or again, the water isn't working or something like that, right? Like there's so many things. So what can I realistically achieve? And then minimum, or what I would really call essential, what is still a win? What's still something that says I achieved success here? So again, when you think about running the Boston Marathon, it's an intention. So maybe it's you finish the race with a personal record is the ideal outcome. Realistic, some challenges. Maybe it is 90 degrees, or maybe it is a washout, right? What's the best that we can hope for there? And then minimum, how can I make sure I don't get injured and I don't do long-term damage to myself, but I still cross that finish line? This gives us permission to really think about success in less of that pass fail, which is really, to me, what I've seen is how people are programmed. It's pass fail. I did it or I didn't do it. Okay. So here's an example of how you might apply the ABC goals to investing time in learning a new skill, right? I'm the head of learning and development at a bank, as I shared earlier, and I would love it. We got LinkedIn Learning. I would love it if people would complete a full course and practice 3 hours each week. Can everybody in their jobs necessarily do that? Maybe, maybe not. So maybe it's realistic. Finish one lesson, practice 90 minutes each week, right? Or maybe it is the minimum or essential goal. Practice 20 minutes twice, capture one useful takeaway. I actually just put something in our company newsletter saying if you've got 8 minutes, you've got time to grow, right? Those are those micro areas where they're showing up to some degree. So I'm just curious from the audience in the chat as we're on this slide, which layer would you continue during a genuinely difficult week here? So if you were having a tough week and your goal was investing time in learning, which one of these for you do you think you'd be able to hit?
And Matt, can I just ask while people are answering, do
Yeah.
you use this model in thinking about how you're structuring your training? Are you using it more specifically in the classroom
Mm.
and having your learners kind of walk away with this framing?
That's a really good question. To a degree, I do both. When I design a program, I shoot for the moon with what would ideal look like, right? So you can use it in
Mhm.
program design. We also use it in the classroom too, with takeaways.
Okay.
Yep, great question. And then in
And
the
we have
chat,
answers all over, but a lot of C's, a lot of
okay.
like, yeah, let's.
And we're programmed to feel
Mm.
like, oh, like I didn't do it right. But you know what? You did. You still made forward momentum. You still will eventually get there and you still will get value out of it. So thank you folks for participating. We're going to move on to our next slide. So there are three tools which they really complement each other. If you think about it, before, during, and after, right? So first, we're going to go through a tool to really help you prepare for a race. And I'll say when I play tennis, here, I'm going to give you a different example. When I play tennis, I actually imagine myself on the court and the shots I'm going to make and think through things. Like if we start to get ourselves into that mindset and do some planning, it's going to help us when we actually run the race, when we're actually in it. And then something that we know is like often overlooked is reflection. So let's dive deeper into these tools. Okay. So in race preparation, the PDF document that you have access to or will have access to, this is all editable. It really starts by talking about what is the goal. So if you think about what you did earlier, and you don't have to do this right now, what is the goal and why are you running this race? Why does this goal matter to you? Maybe by spending time, doing learning a skill that's going to help me get that next role. Or I want to become more handy around the house, right? So maybe I need to, go cut the shrubs or something like that, or what have you. What fuels me? So what's the motivation, right? For me, I've got a running playlist for when I start to feel fatigued, or I've got podcasts to keep me going. I've got the love of my family. If you're spiritual, like whatever that would feel like for you, your team, your learners, that's really what keeps you going. In a marathon race, every 4 miles or so, you often see people eating something because when you run that much, you have to sustain yourself. I truly feel it's the same with us. Do I know at 3 o'clock I need a snack and maybe a little more caffeine? Yeah,
Oh, I also love this, Matt, as a prep for your learners before they come
yeah,
into the session. Like, get them their heads framed around this.
that's right.
The
Everyone's
exact
gonna,
same
yeah,
questions.
yeah. That's right. Everyone's going to come in with their own unique set of experiences. We know their own unique learning style. So being able to come in and knowing that is super helpful. When we think about aid stations, they're there when and if we need them. So when you run the Boston Marathon or most marathons, there are aid stations throughout. People don't stop at every single one, but maybe somebody wants some water, somebody wants some Gatorade, somebody wants a snack. So what does this mean in a training sense or in a goal sense? Who do I need aid from? My wife asked me earlier, hey, do you want me to call you? Because again, we are dealing with a bathroom situation at home that's being remodeled. And so I said, you know what? That would be great. So for me, my wife of almost 20 years, yeah, that's going to be one of my biggest aids. My children, right? Whatever it is to help you keep moving forward that you can lean on. And then we talked about this earlier. What does success look like? So, those ABC goals, this is where you would truly articulate the three different layers that will make you still feel like a winner. And then it's a good idea. It's almost like if you've heard of a pre-mortem, right? Which is when You imagine a project has failed. Down the road, a project in the future has failed. Let's back up and diagnose the reasons why. This is almost for me, what could blow up your goal? With Heartbreak Hill, what are you most concerned could happen that might make your goals not come true? So doing a little bit of preparation here will go a long way when you're in the race. All right. So this is the prep tool. This is before.
Love it.
So thank you. So during, I like to think of this as mile markers, right? So how can we watch our journey throughout the way? Um, so on here, just for example's sake, I have 12 mile markers. You could do 30. You could do however many you want. I do not do ultra marathons. That's not a goal yet. But one of the simple things we could think of is mile one is January, and then all the way through to December if you wanted to go on a yearly goal, or if you wanted to go quarterly, you have 12 weeks. So what you could say is let's say your goal again is investing in learning. So in January, we can say what changed. We could say, or basically what happened. We could say we were able to carve out the ideal amount of time. Great. Okay, to me, that sounds like a boost. A boost is something that helps keep you going. A boost is a good thing, right? A challenge. Oh, well, maybe it wasn't quite like that for me. Maybe I had a really demanding season at work, or it's fiscal, everyone's putting their budgets in and things like that. So I wasn't able to devote as much time, or maybe something personally happened. So that's where you would list a challenge to say, I was only able to do C, but I still made progress. So that's where I'd be able to say, do I feel I am on track to end at my A, B, or C goal right now? And the beauty of this is you're really able to see, right? This would be a check mark, a check mark, a check mark, the ebb and flow of your race over time. And that sort of gives you some pattern recognition too for yourself or for your teams to see kind of what's going on. And again, this last column here is about adjustments. So let's say you got a challenge on this investing time in learning. Are there adjustments you might need to make if you're slipping? Oh, I haven't actually carved out time on my calendar. So one simple thing I could do is carve 30 minutes out every week and try to meet that. Or maybe you're crushing it. We don't always have to make adjustments just when we have challenges, right? When good things happen, sometimes that means we can have even a better goal than our A goal. So
Hmm.
that's a little bit about the mile markers. This is during the race. This is sort of tracking progress over time so that you can revisit it and reflect.
Which I love this, Matt, as a tool both for individuals or as
Hmm.
teams. Like I could see, if you've got a team working on something together,
Hmm.
using this format, this model, um, to discuss and process and think about where we are and adjust.
Yeah.
Or, after the training, when you're applying it and you're in the middle of applying some new skill.
Yeah.
Um, Very versatile.
Thank you. And also, while we're on that note, I also think sometimes I think it's natural to think a goal has to be a year long. I've actually been looking at a lot of content that's saying try 6 months. And if you still like the goal, keep going or do a new one. Or if you don't, bail on it. Right. So there's plenty of opportunities to think about how long is the race I need to do? Is it a 5K where it's a 5 week or a 6 week goal? So you could choose what that would look like.
Well,
Okay.
the other thing is
Yeah.
that, in talking about endurance and
Mm.
resilience,
Yep.
you're not doing the whole goal all at once. If
That's
you
right.
think about what you have here and you're like, I just need to get through steps one and two. Like it's
Mhm.
those baby steps. You
That's
start, like
right.
you said in your run,
Yep.
you weren't starting off with a marathon. You're starting off with, can I run around the block? Can
Hmm.
I walk around the block? How can I do one flight of stairs?
That's right.
Whatever it is. So it's you're building endurance, you're building resilience step by step, not a whole thing at once.
That's right. Thank you. All right. Reflection. This is really where we gain those lessons. When you drive home from work and you think, what went well and what didn't go well today, and what am I going to do differently tomorrow? Okay. So here, this is where we would say, great, what challenges tested your endurance? So that's really going to ask you to reflect on that. You might have had to change some expectations and decide this is okay. This is okay to change expectations because we all know the math equation when expectations do not equal reality, that equals disappointment, right?
Mm.
So, what expectations had to change and I had to get comfortable with? What helped me continue forward? What
Mm.
support mattered most? That's huge. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this a lot, we feel we can't ask for help, right? We absolutely can. We don't have to do everything alone. Again, we're social creatures. Lean on the people in your network. And what did you learn from enduring your heartbreak hill? I shared my personal heartbreak hill earlier. So, whatever came up during the year that might have been your big challenge, how did you endure through that and what did you learn? And it's really important to talk about what are you celebrating, right, at the finish line. So whether you reached A, B, or C, what are you celebrating? I actually did a version of this where at the end, I invited people because at the end of the Boston Marathon, there is always a Red Sox game at night, and it's a nice tradition to go to Fenway Park and there's a certain song that comes on in the seventh or eighth inning by Neil Diamond. So we actually ended our session with Sweet Caroline with a callback. So make sure you are celebrating your accomplishments. Okay. And then what will you carry forward from this experience? From this race to the next race, what am I carrying forward?
And I also love, Matt, that it is a journey. Like
Yeah.
our lives are a journey and,
Yeah.
challenges are a journey and moving through all of this, getting through any
Hmm.
new information or new challenge and new learning is going to
That's
be a
right.
journey.
That's right. And I mean, think about it. For me, it's forward momentum. Everybody got into this Zoom today through forward momentum. You have all moved forward your entire lives. This is what is continuing to keep us going and know that we can keep going. So that is starting to bring me towards the end of the actual prepared slides, Sue, which is great because I think we'll have some time for some dialogue. But now this is really where if you came in earlier and you wrote down a goal, if that goal still resonates with you, you can use that. But at a minimum here, right? Just curious, you don't have to use every single tool I just went over, but what is that meaningful outcome you're working towards? And what would success look like? In layers and what could test the plan. So you can write those down. You can share in the chat if you'd like. Um, but with that, so I think I'm ready to sort of open it up here. And if you want to learn a little bit more about me and my work and what I'm passionate about, I have information on the screen there.
Matt, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Totally appreciate this. Was thinking also about some other tools that we have that help with resilience and endurance and growth over time. Before I introduce those, though, let me just, as Matt said, open it up to you guys and see what questions you have for Matt. Feel free to unmute yourselves or raise your hand or whatever you'd like to do.
Would you be able to use the reflection bit, but during the like as a mile marker, as the part of that reassessment? Would that be is that part of the idea as well? Like using that as a micro reflection moment? I just think of the
Yeah.
times when you need to maybe think a little deeper about it, and I think that would be a good tool. That
Yeah, Gordon, thanks for getting us started with questions. Absolutely. I mean, I find, again, when I'm running, I'm constantly reassessing myself, every couple miles. So I feel like that tool could be introduced at any point. Maybe it's lighter reflections throughout, but I could see it being something you continue to reflect on, almost like the adjustments too in the mile markers. You're always thinking, what might need to shift here and what am I learning, right? So totally, you could use that throughout.
Hmm. I did put Matt's notes up a link to them in the chat with some of those tools. And I'm just going to do a quick share here as you guys are thinking for other questions for Matt. Um, some tools in the trainer's warehouse environment that this reminds me of. So one of them is the Road to There, which is a virtual facilitation toolkit for teams. So maybe not so individual focused, but the idea is, where are we starting? Where is there? What is that goal? What are the obstacles? So it kind of overlays with Matt's tools a little bit. This is kind of another sort of facilitation that it comes to mind. Tool number 2 is the Developing Resilience Thumb Ball. Um, Resilience
Ooh, Sue, sorry,
often,
you have a question. And did you want to share your screen?
am I not sharing it?
No,
You
I
were,
think.
you were.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I still see mine. I apologize.
Okay. No, that's okay. So there are 10 qualities or 10 skills associated with resilience that also overlay with what Matt just presented. And then I'll get to the question in just a moment. But patience, optimism, gratitude, acceptance, kindness, purpose, forgiveness, connection, composure, listening. So as you're thinking about resilience, also, this version of our thumb ball has conversation prompts that help develop those skills. And then thirdly is the growth mindset kudos notes that help you recognize, either for self-assessment or with teams, I got stuck in a problem, but I stuck with the problem. I made a mistake, asking good questions, being a good listener. Sometimes it's these actions that are small things, those little steps forward, as Matt talked about, that can help you get from here to there. So just wanted to, as we're talking about resilience, endurance, growth, hitting goals, just wanted to share a few of these tools with all of you. And Gloria, yes, you have a question, please.
It's not necessarily a question, but I think this is such a great, I don't want to say spin on teaching resilience, but I teach resilience some too. And even though I talk about, you kind of have to equate it to, it's a slow, steady, pace. It's growth. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to choose what works for you. But when you say endurance, it just clicks different, I think, because people can relate to that. And I give examples of, like, oh, the first time you work out in a gym, you can't lift 100 pounds. You have to work up to that. But I love the way you just related it to endurance, to marathon, to, I feel people that even maybe that aren't gym goers can relate to that because they see that, or see, there's been, lately in news or whatever, people climbing summits, people doing all these crazy climbs, so that's in the forefront of what people already have in their mind, that maybe I don't do that, but I can relate and see that, okay, he didn't wake up one day and say, I'm just going to climb this crazy tower without any, so I love endurance with it. I took a note and I'm like, ooh, I am using this. It's just one of those great things. And I love these environments where you have other trainers and you're like, oh, yep, I've been doing this forever. I never thought of that one word, how it would just
Yeah.
really change and elevate, the same message, but in a different way and capture a different audience, perhaps. So
Can
thank
I
you.
just
Gloria, thank you.
counteract that and say that there are people who do wake up and say, I think I'll try to ride 100 kilometer 100 miles on my bike. I'm one of those without practicing. So yeah.
Oh
So there are
man,
some of those kinds of
Gordon.
people. Just saying.
That's
And that's where
impressive
you
in
have
its own
to
right, too.
yeah. You gotta teach resilience to
Wowza.
those folks.
Wowza, both of you. Thank you. Other comments, questions, reflections?
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Gordon said. And yes, I used to be one of those people, but I think after you hit a certain age, you learn to pace yourself because that could be um, critical and, possibly in the emergency room. So, I used to could be that person say, "Yep, I'm gonna do it," and then, but I think over time, uh, after a little injury, um, wisdom, you tend to go to the wisdom and say,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I might want to pace myself and gradually
Mm.
develop into that."
And I mean, kudos to you, Gordon. At the same time, it can be so daunting to do that. I think that your ability to do that could be really unusual. And and wow, yeah. But what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, well, you get out in the middle of nowhere and you realize I'm in the middle of nowhere. And if I stop now, I'm in the middle of nowhere. And so you have to keep going, right? You have to find that motivation and then make those small steps, take those small steps and such. But I did have a question
Mhm.
about the tool. I opened up the link and I noticed that the beagle it looks like it's like highlighted. There's a line, but it looks like it's boxed. Like is B the most favorable or the most idealist? I mean, there's ideal already, but to use the word again, idealistic, the realistic, or is when we're looking at what success looks like,
I think that
or
was
is
for
there a
me,
wrong
right?
answer? Yeah, is
Yeah,
there a right or
That
yeah.
was
wrong
for
answer
me.
to that?
Okay.
The
Yes.
Okay.
ABC.
Yes,
The,
Yeah.
let me chime in on our ABCs. So when I think of A, this is like conditions align. This is like perfect. It's almost like aspirational, the best you can hope for. B to me, in my experience, is where most people, right, are able to really get through something because we know we're going to have challenges in changing conditions. So that's how I look at that. And C is the one where it's like, man, I life lived me this week, this month, but I still showed up and darn it, I still accomplished something and added value to my goal. Does that help? Cool.
thank you. Matt, thank you. I know we're at the half hour. I'm going to say my formal thanks to you and appreciation. We'll stay on for a little bit, but I'm going to end the recording here and have a good day to anyone who needs to leave at this point. So thank you.
Thanks so much for spending time with us. Appreciate it.